So we've made it a couple of weeks into 2025, and here we are talking about Nazis again. Okay. So I'm hopping on here for this quick little segment because people can't get enough of the Elon Musk Nazi right-wing Germany convention, this whole thing, to where even One Tree Hill alum Sophia Bush has come out of the woodwork to assert that Elon Musk is in fact a Nazi. So here's the tea, okay? And I talked about it a little bit in um today in Wednesday's episode of the podcast, and I also did a little short about this on social media, in which my take, as a very outspoken, as you know, need I remind you of my October 7th Columbia University Hamas, like all this content that I've done as very outspoken Jewish woman, okay? But basically the essence of what I said was, look, chalking it up to his Asperger's-y way, or what he actually said at the Germany convention, if you will. I do not think that this man is an outward, blatant Nazi. And this is being blown a little bit out of proportion and is equivalent to a Trump derangement syndrome, right? We've now moved on to EDS. And I will just say, like, anybody who doesn't like this show is sadly suffering from TDS, Trump or Taylor derangement syndrome, like the other TDS. You know what I mean? But someone commented on the social media post that I did, and they said that this isn't a left-right issue when it comes to anti-Semitism, that it's everywhere and it's a problem, of course. And Elon knew exactly what he was doing and all this. So I thought that that was valid parts of it and, a decent, argument there. So I just wanted to air it out a little bit and talk about it here. That is the beauty of YouTube, is that you can't escape me. Can't escape me, bitches. So I obviously agree, right? And it's funny because I had that thought sitting down to do that social media content and say what I said, which is the fact that, like, I'm taking half of this person's idea and like half running with it, but then the other half is like my own touchdown in the end zone. You know what I mean? I do agree with the fact that anti-Semitism is everywhere. Like it or not, we are in such an anti-Semitic culture, so much so that I don't think people even realize it. And this person is absolutely right. It's not a left-right issue, right? We see it with everywhere from like the Kanye West saying that Jews control the entertainment business and run everyone's lives and all this. We see it to obviously the outward Hamas loving death to all the Jews protesters that we saw running rampant in our society on college campuses actually getting violent, right? We see it with even squad members who, by the way, are, in case you all forgot, I know we like to poke fun of them and whatever and reference them, but actually are in our government and make choices on our behalf. Okay. So, and have power in our government. So there's that, all the way to the other extreme of white supremacist neo-Nazis. And my whole point with the Elon Musk thing was exactly, anti-Semitism is permeated everywhere. It's disgusting. And so, why are we focusing on Elon Musk, who is not a Nazi, as this outward, blatant Nazi trying to rile up all the other Nazis and be like Hitler reincarnated? And what I was pointing out was the media's hypocrisy, because they let all of the, Intifada, Hamas, kill all the Jews, run rampant for months and months, and now suddenly they care about anti-Semitism because it's Elon Musk, who they have a warped view of. You know what I mean? So that's the point that I was really making. Well, one of the points. I'm going to get to the others here. Um, so I, again, of all people, want to assert that this is a problem. It's troubling. Of course, it bothers me. And I do feel like Jews are always thrown under the bus. Jews have been thrown. This is like the tale as old as time, okay? I've said it before that it's quite possibly the longest standing and oldest form of bigotry, right? Is anti-Semitism. And still to this day, like, it lives on in Kanye West saying what he has to say. So It's very much a thing. We're always thrown under the bus. And I would be the first to say, like, how about we don't forget about the Holocaust that just happened, what, like 70, 80 years ago? Like, let's not, okay? Like, let's not. And again, it's what I said in my episode last time, which is, of course we remember. Of course we can't repeat it. But what good does it serve us, just like the history of this country, to carry that burden every single day, which I'm going to get to. So, the comment I made, both I reflected this in the social media content and my episode. I know this is like a one-stop shop. Like, you thought it was just here, YouTube. I am here. I am everything everywhere all at once. Like, I am a multi-dimensional experience. Okay. Next thing you know, I'm going to become 3D and we're going to be making out on your couch right there. But until that glorious day, I made a comment in both that was essentially, people are all in an uproar. I've had people reach me personally, be like, "Why aren't you speaking up about this? You're so outspoken as a Jew and about the hypocrisies and all this. Like, why aren't you outspoken about this?" And the fact that he has neo-Nazis in this country and beyond, like thinking that he's, saluting to them and they're all riled up. And basically what I said was, why even give them the time of day? Like, why even validate them and give them power? You can have, you're gonna have extremists interpret things a certain type of way sometimes and latch on to that. But my point was, why even give them more credibility? Why give them more power? Why even give them the time of day? Because people are like, why isn't he saying? And I agree. It's like, could he be like, listen, guys, don't get it twisted. Like, wasn't talking to y'all, was talking to everybody else over there. Sure. But there's also a part of me that's like, I said what I said. It's like, why even give them validation? You know what I'm saying? It's like, if we make them irrelevant, they become irrelevant and they don't get more weight. And I gave the analogy in my social media clip about selling sunset, where they, if you know, you know, but nothing, from Nazism to Nazi Germany to selling sunset at the Oppenheim group, talk to me, Taylor. But there's a scene where they accuse this woman who has done drugs before, allegedly, of like being on drugs and doing drugs. So she's like makes a whole point to prove to them that she's not and takes a drug test. Whereas the other women are like, I know I don't do drugs, so I have nothing to prove. Like, why would I even go and do a drug test? Like, I don't do drugs. Like, there's nothing to see. And I kind of saw it like that. It's like, I know I'm not a Nazi, so why am I gonna be like, no, 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 but I was, it's like, I know that I'm not. So why am I going to go out of my way? Right. So that's kind of what I was saying about all of that, is again, like, why give these fringe extremists more power and validation? And I also talked about in the episode of, how he then, how he spoke at this right wing Germany conference, right? Which again, on the surface, I know how that looks. I know how that looks. And I can see how people would be like, Taylor, if it walks like a duck, sounds like a duck, quacks like a duck, right? Like, I could understand how it's like, okay, first he's not negating this, then he's speaking at like a right wing, you know, German thing. Like, what do you, come on now? Like, you're blonde, but not that blonde. Like, what do you expect us to, infer from all this? And so, again, my point around all of that remains to be true. Like, when I say something, I said what I said, which is also like, to flesh this out a little bit. We know that Elon Musk is this sort of right-leaning libertarian person, and it doesn't mean if he's speaking to a right-wing German group of people that they're all, it's the same thing you could say about right wingers here. It's like they're all fascists, Nazis, bigots. Like, it doesn't mean that they are all fascist Nazi bigots, right? Speaking to them. Like, this is where he aligns, and look at how it translates, like, from the lens of the US to over there. It's like the same thing could be said. So it's not like he's talking to a group of excited Nazis. Okay. And people also conveniently like to leave the fact out that, like Hitler, Stalin, Colin rebranding Karl Marx, no big deal. Karl Marx were all left-wing socialists, okay, like communists. So basically, let's not forget about that, right? But that's another story for another time. So I was really interpreting what he did and what he said at said conference. He's saying, like, you don't have to have shame, you don't have to have guilt around, this past. And again, what, generations before you, like the horrible crimes that they may have committed. He never outwardly says the Holocaust, but we all know that's what he's talking about. And like I said in my episode, it's the same sort of idea even that we have here, which is absolutely we shouldn't be naive to our past and the atrocities and the fabric and the history that's built this society that we're in now. In our case, our really complex, dark history with slavery. In their case, is as it comes to this with the Holocaust. But I feel like what he was saying and what I agree on, what I believe as well, is what is the benefit and the advantage. Again, I'm saying this as a Jewish woman of carrying that burden every single day in our current present lives in society. I am not in the camp of the reparations and the this and you have to pay and you have to feel guilt. Like, where does that get us? And Elon Musk has always been consistent about this, whether it's our culture, their culture, and saying, what good does it get us to live in the burden of that past versus absolutely acknowledging it, honoring it, but not letting it, we have to be unburdened by what has been at one point. Am I right? Whatever the fuck that means. But celebrating how far we have come, that we aren't there anymore, that yes, it's our past, that we personally aren't responsible. We weren't there. So while we acknowledge it, we celebrate where we've come and we look onward and we move forward and we build from that and we keep fighting the fight and we keep going. So that's all I have to say about that. So that's why I personally do not believe, again, unless the facts come out, unless more comes out, I'm happy to stand corrected. I do not think that Elon Musk is a secret Hitler stash wearing man by night and billionaire guy by day. Okay. I do not think that he is a Nazi. I think that he said what he said. I think I said what I said. I think, again, there is really no use in giving more power to extremists who interpret things the way that they will. And I don't think that there's use in continuing, let's put it this way, in continuing to be burdened by what has been. How's all that for my Kamala Harris lovers? So that's what I have to say about that.